Welcome to Daytime Talk After Dark. My name is Al Jackson, but that is
not important.
Unimportant. What is important is I'm joined by three of my faves. Tori Shulman in the building. Erica Cobby.
Hi.
My man, Jeray. How you feeling?
Hello. I'm back
so
again.
Glad you've been here all week. All right, let's get right into this. I don't know how much we can talk about this but we were talking about it before, and we want to be organic in our conversations. Our old news station here in Denver, 9 News, our old boss, Tegna, was purchased by Fox.
No, by Nexstar Media.
By Nexstar Media?
Yeah, it's in talks, and we believe it's going through for $6.2 billion.
Okay, so speaking less about the local aspect, how do you think this will affect the media landscape?
So now the Nexstar Media will be taking over almost 90% of the stations, and they will have what I believe is a monopoly. Now, when this happened before, Elizabeth Warren, famously a consumer advocate, spoke up and said this is a monopoly. There's a Sherman Antitrust Act for this reason, and stopped the sale. Now Trump's in office, and he has lessened all the regulations as what you call deregulation, and he's put conservative people on top of these media empires that can now take over 90% of the landscape.
Real quick, just to put this in perspective, if this deal closes, Nexstar and its partners will oversee 265 television stations in 44 states and Washington, D.C., cementing its position as the largest owner of local TV stations in the country.
Yes, and the guy in charge is a conservative, and so, it's just, this didn't used to be able to happen.
Perry Sook,
Yeah, Perry.
chief executive of
Yeah.
Nexstar.
Yeah, I think he's also changed The Hill. He took over for the newspaper The Hill. But what this means is there used to be lots of different voices. You had to have different voices. You couldn't have a monopoly of the media. And now there's one voice, and that leads me to believe goes into sort of propaganda TV, which is what we see with Russia, with North Korea, with China.
Right, it's state television.
Yeah, it's state television, right. So that's my worry.
Just because, and Erica and Jeray, I want to get your thoughts, but I was talking to one of my best friends in the world, John Vargas, yesterday. We were on the phone, and he has younger kids, and he goes, have you seen what they've replaced PBS with? And I was like, no. And they've replaced it with PragerU.
My friend's on
Do you guys know who Dennis Prager is? He was a famous...
This was going to be one of our stories this week.
Yep.
You is the one that's doing those tests for teachers in Oklahoma.
My ex-friend is in charge of doing the teaching for children, and it is all, that's when this is what PragerU had. Frederick Douglass, in an animation saying, slavery wasn't that bad. Do you remember this scandal?
Yeah,
that was PragerU that came out with that.
And that's on your kids are watching that in the morning if you want, like where
Very slanted,
NPR and
very
PBS,
slanted.
it is like propaganda, like most slaves liked it, and like literally saying this
they
on
learned good skills.
Local television.
Yeah.
Great. Anyway, Erica, what do you think? It just really hit me because I had this conversation less than 24 hours ago, and here we are.
Yeah. Obviously this isn't good. This is a change. It feels like it's very much moving backwards. That being said, we're talking about broadcast television and we're talking about local media. And the truth is, the majority of people are moving over to digital. Like, that's what it is. So it almost feels like, a thing just came out not that long ago talking about the uptick in YouTube views, because I think it was like 20 or 30% or something like that people are completely shifted. So and on one hand, I'm like, it's obviously this is not the way that we should be going. On the other hand, I'm like, who is this for exactly? Because I'm a little confused as to like what is the demo that is being affected the most by these changes?
Well,
like specifically, is it a socioeconomic thing? Is it a age thing? What are they trying to get state TV to do for who?
Right. I think Russia is the template that they're using.
Well, real quick, an AI search here. Older adults are the primary demographic for local TV news viewership, with significant portions of those aged 50 and above watching daily.
And guess who votes the most?
I was about to say that.
Older adults.
Well, and this is in past history, yes, but we also have to remember that this new Gen Alpha out doubles. I believe it's much bigger than the older generation. If you want to double check that,
I believe millennials are the largest
generation right now, but I
The
might be
millennials
wrong.
Might be. But even with that being said, kind of feels like a weak last ditch attempt to try and crowd and
Saturated?
Yeah, well, really just to kind of create a different aspect of conversation with this older crowd to make them think one way. When you have so many people who are looking for this information elsewhere. I'll tell you, like, in my age group for sure, no one trusts the news.
Yeah, but they don't vote.
No. Well, I don't think that's necessarily
They
true.
don't vote. I'm telling you. 47% of this country didn't vote, and the majority were young people. Older people constantly vote. It's in their constitution. They believe in it. They've done it before. And we have a very hard time getting 18 plus people to vote. It is a strong problem that I wish we could fix, but is a hole in our voting constituents.
I mean, my issue, Dre, is just like the numbers. I've never used this phrase, but the math ain't mathin'. In terms of conservative and people that lean more liberal, the conservative voice it has too much weight. It shouldn't have 90% of the platforms for television. It shouldn't be the number one. I know some of the more liberal podcasts have crept up there, but let's be honest. We've seen Twitter, which was a medium in which people connected. That's now unusable. Facebook is very difficult for people to use because of some of the messages they get. Instagram is controlled by Facebook, so now that's 3 down. And TikTok is always tenuous as to if they're going to be able to remain legal in this country. And I feel like eventually that axe will fall, which is sad because I love TikTok. And so now we're down to YouTube. And that being really the only point of light in the darkness, and everything else is just state TV telling you that drag queens are going to kill your kids and that there's nothing to see here with the Epstein files. What I remember from a John Oliver episode 3 or 4 years ago, before I even, maybe more than that, because it was before I was on DBL, is they did a story about Nexstar, and they did this really crazy thing where they took all of the different anchors. Do you remember this, Erica?
And they all were saying the same
and they
thing.
tiled them Dre. And they were all saying, it'd be like if you took a picture of yourself and you were like, made 32 Dre fake little.
They're called must-runs.
Yeah. And they all were saying black women, white men, white women, all saying the same thing, Dre. Today is a sunny day. Enjoy the United. It was creepy and choreographed. And I was like, it's here.
That was Sinclair that did it.
Which is another conservative. Yeah.
Apparently, they're also interested in Tegna. So I don't know if there's going to be a bidding war.
Apparently, this Nexstar is going through. Is what we're hearing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I just think it's really interesting to see how there is 2 very different ways to get your information. There's those who seek and there's those who listen. And I think what they're really, whatever the end goal is for Nexstar or whoever this company is to obtain those who listen and to make sure that they listen very, very well. But I think you still have a great majority of people who really are self-thinkers and are going to go look for that information and try and find that information. And I think right now, Gavin Newsom is actually doing an incredible job of this, of making people think by acting the way that the other party is acting, whether you think that's right or wrong.
He's holding up a mirror. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
And that mirror is very, very strong right now. So no matter what happens out of this, I think it's going to be really interesting to see in the next 2 to 3 years how journalists, how broadcast in general is really, if it even is a thing, to be honest with you, because I think it really is a dying source, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, well, we've seen, and there have been some stories that were leaked that some very famous podcasts have received dark money because their platforms. I was talking to a good friend of mine, a comic, and I sent him a text. I was at the baseball game. I haven't talked to him in years, but he's been very successful. And I was like, I just want to tell you, I'm proud of you, dog, because we've been friends forever. And I was like, I was so scared to turn on YouTube and see you, with one of the, we can't say anything anymore. And he never turned into that guy. And we were just lamenting at guys we used to know that were really fun and turned into government mouthpieces. Yeah. And it's a thing. They are given talking points and you can hear them and their guests change. It's like, do you remember when you used to have me and the old girl and whoever we used to smoke out with in the green room on, and now you have a billionaire tech president? Do you think that's weird?
Well, I mean, yeah, and I see I'm picking up what you're putting down. Mm-hmm.
Everybody can be bought, is what I'm saying.
Right. But here's the thing.
Too. Yeah, I'm ready to sell out.
Gladly.
But here's the thing. I mean, it really is that we're seeing it, and you're talking about it from the space of the creator, because we now know that the creator is like, the creator rules everything because content is king. So if you have a person who has the ability to create, then yes, all of these opportunities are going to come at you, but also the discernment isn't there anymore because there's such limited opportunities. We're talking about it in terms of the space of the creator, but that's just going to be the memo for everything.
Right.
Now, with people having to depend more on a government that is not dependable, what are people going to be willing to do in order to make ends meet? Yes, it's dark money and it's lining pockets, but we don't know what all that dark money and how much dark money it is. Is it a lot, or is it just more than anyone else is offering right now?
Right.
So
Wow.
that's just what it is.
Yeah.
Like, there's no discernment starts to leave because of desperation. And I feel like a lot of people are in that position or getting to that position very soon where their discernment's going to be off because they're desperate.
Right. Well, I mean, we've seen it. That we talked about it a few weeks back, but over 300,000 just black women have. They use the term left media. They just left it, like they all just decided one day. So let's just leave.
Or
been
left
forced-
jobs.
Left jobs in the media.
Not in the
No, it's just
media.
jobs.
Jobs.
All jobs?
Yeah, it
Or
was just jobs.
Yeah.
That's even
I'm
scarier.
like 300,000
That's
black
a
women in
lot of
media.
people, yeah.
I was like, there's that many?
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. Like,
That's
no trying to
totally
shade.
fair.
So, I mean, Erica, you know, that's 300,000 people that are going to be looking to make ends meet. And like you said, they'll be less discerning because rent is due and kids are in school, and it makes you make decisions. And I wonder what us as a public, will there be any forgiveness if there are people that we genuinely love that eventually years down the line say, I know y'all are mad at me for whatever I said or did or whoever I hosted, but this is what was going on. I mean, because
Nelly and Ashanti, this is a great. You can see that right now. Literally, Nelly and Ashanti with their show on. Did you guys watch the show? on
No,
Bravo?
but he's headlining here in Denver, and I wonder. I want to hear you speak on that because I looked at that billboard and I was like, I wonder how he'll be received and what his crowd will look like. So please
It's
continue.
so interesting. So, and I only speak to that because when we're speaking to like, can we forgive that person after they've been, for what people would say, sold out, right? And I say that with Nelly because he performed at the inauguration this year, and a lot of people, him and Snoop Dogg, had a lot to say about that, being like, they were sellouts. How dare you? You're going against the black community, all these other things. And when I watch his show with Ashanti, him and Ashanti have a show and their new life together and bringing a baby into this world. It's really cute, actually. But when they spoke about the inauguration, it was very interesting because even though they're married, him and Ashanti are married, Ashanti essentially didn't seem that she wanted to even, you make that choice. Do whatever you go and do with that. But one thing I thought was really strong with Nelly is that he even said verbatim, I'm performing for the president of the United States. I'm not performing for Trump. I'm not performing for Obama. I'm performing
I have a hard time
because
with this.
He was performing for the president of the United States.
I have a hard
Yes.
time with that.
And I also do,
Yeah.
because I
think that's
to
kind of a
myself,
bullshit answer, to be super
100%.
honest.
And I think to myself of a time where I was offered to work on a Trump campaign before DBS. This was 2017. And I turned down that because it was against my morals personally. But my check wasn't 1.5 million or even $500,000. It wasn't going to look like that. But I do question, would that change my mind if, you know, an inauguration performance, I'm guessing at least $1 million. I'm thinking.
And I'll say this before we move on, because I know you guys both kind of questioned what Nelly had to say. I heard Nelly give a couple different interviews, and you're right, Jeray, he was very steadfast, and he was like, he was almost like, you know, when people are defensive because they were like, how could you work for Trump when he said this? And they're like, and Nelly was like, yeah, but you guys didn't say that about Bobby Brown. Like, you like doing a lot of, like, he defended himself the way a Trump supporter would. Snoop, when he was confronted, I'm very animalistic when I just look at people and just try and he just looked sad, and he looked like he had made a bad decision. I think Snoop had the like, I'm Snoop, I do what I want. And he's been so famous for so long that I don't think he realized how hurt he was by just feeling like he had disappointed this community that loves him and that he clearly loves and has been a steward of. He's been a great father, all that stuff. He looks so sad, Eric, as opposed to Nelly.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. Like, can we just have an honest conversation about this?
Let's do it.
There is this thing that makes us feel really comfortable, and I don't think it should, and it's performative humility. These people are not really all that relatable.
No.
There is nothing about their lives in quite some time that is really relatable to the people who are following them. And I think we find a lot of comfort in performative humility because we're saying, oh yeah, this person is very famous and they're very rich, but you know, they're just like us. No, they're not.
Right.
They're not. And they're thinking about different things. They're moving in different ways because that's what their lives dictate. And so when you have an opportunity like this and they're thinking, well, yeah, Nelly's saying I'm performing for the, you know, president of the United States. Snoop is like, I mean, Snoop was trolled. I think they still might be trolling Snoop.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
like crazy for a very long time. And I understand that people were so hurt, but it's like, were you really all that shocked by this?
No.
You're talking about somebody who lives in, he's more similar. These people are more similar to the people that everybody is against than they are to the average American. Like, that's just the truth.
I'm shocked.
That's the bottom line.
I'm shocked by them because they have a pulse on their audience and who listens to them. And I would think Snoop and Nelly should have known that would have alienated an enormous amount of
But
their
I'm
support.
telling you that that pulse isn't there.
But like, so you're saying they have no idea the concept of
I don't
their...
think they don't have an idea. I think that it's very difficult to act like you're a part of, you know, you're on the streets, you're a part of the street. Like, is it the street? Like, it's difficult to do that when your reality is not that.
These men
Now,
are
people
businessmen
do-
now.
They're
Yeah, but a
businessmen.
businessman would know that this could cause them a problem because people will be buying their albums.
I know, but I'm saying when you aren't moving from authenticity, then things like this are bound to happen. There are going to be missteps because you're pretending to be someone that you're not.
Right.
That's just what it is. You can't fake that through everything. There is going to be the moment where you end up rapping at the White House.
Right. And I mean, if you think
dude.
about like the trajectory of most artists, even the ones that are super popular, your first two albums, that's where you, because that's when you're young, that's when you probably are still living on the block, are still rapping on the stoop.
But you're trying to tell me that Snoop doesn't know that would have alienated the people that listen to his music?
When do you think the last time Snoop took a
Oh
commercial
my God,
flight
he's
was?
not an idiot. I
No,
know that
no. When do you think he was in public?
I understand that he flies private and he's rich and he mingles with these people. He still has a business sense of how he started and who brought him there. And he kind of violated those people. And I think
Tori, the reason why we're having this conversation is because he did it. We're not talking about speculating. So you're asking, you don't think that this is clearly not. He showed up and he did it.
And those
I just don't get
probably
it.
are his friends, and they know him different. He knows Jeff Bezos and Trump
doesn't matter.
differently
He
than
would-
his audience does.
I know, but he knows that performing for them would mean something else. A black man performing at this Trump racist White House would mean something to a lot of people that enjoy. He has to have known that to me. Maybe you're right. Maybe he didn't because he did do it. It just shocks me.
I also think it's a lot more, it's like, it's not even the maybe he doesn't know, maybe he does. It's more of the where do I have to move money at in my business to make sure that A, B, and C is looking good for the next 5 years.
Yeah,
And
but
if
this
I'm
would
making
kill
the-
in his money.
And I agree.
Yeah.
But also, if
It
you're
just-
looking at the check up front versus the check you're about to go get over
I
the
don't
next
know.
5 years, if I'm
Yeah.
going to get that up front right now and I have to lay low for a good 2
But
or 3
he's
years.
never done that. I know his business
Well,
acumen has been
also-
smart. In my opinion.
And who knows what that deal was? We're talking about it like, oh, you
know.
get paid $1 million to perform at the White House. We don't know if that was a completely just monetary deal
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
was it a deal that also had access
Right.
attached to
Oh,
it.
good point.
That's true.
So,
yeah.
No taxes
yeah.
for 2 years.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Or just like where the money's going, where he should invest his money.
No audit.
Yeah.
Yes, for 10.
I mean, it's a real thing. So I'm very curious to see, like, over time, will Snoop's Q rating with the people come back up, because it's hard when you're that beloved to stay down for that long. All right, let's get to our last story. Jillian Michaels. Woo. Yes, let's talk about it. There's obviously a new Biggest Loser documentary that's out, and she is threatening to sue. She says she's got the receipts all over some caffeine pills. Who watched it? Who has thoughts? Jeray, did you watch it?
I did watch it.
Okay, you're our guest. Talk to us.
I thought it was such an interesting storyline. It was an interesting story overall. There's a 3-part series that you're going through these different competitors and their experience, the behind the camera, right? Remember, this is an early 2000s show. It's the first of its kind using humans for this reality show. So the human is the test at the end of the day. And it's interesting to hear the executive producers and some of the staffing's opinions versus the competitors' opinions. And working in TV, I love hearing both sides because I want to hear what did you think of how this clicks. And I love how the executive producers, I forgot their names, but they really spoke to this aspect of what could be better than watching people become the best versions of themselves, to lose the weight and become healthy. That's really where this whole storyline was, like the root was supposed to be, and the evil aspects. Watching this back, I have to remind y'all, I was 7 years old, 8 years old.
That
and
hurts.
some of,
Oh my
just
God,
a little bit.
Jeray.
Yeah.
The youth is
Jesus.
looking good, friends. But I was a young tyke when I was watching the show originally. Watching this back and listening to these people, these are overweight people, severely obese. I'm talking 300 to 400 pounds who are working out to burn 6,000 to 8,000 calories per day.
That's insane.
It's insane. It shouldn't be possible.
A lot of football players that are professional athletes have dropped dead in spring training, because it gets too hot. Of course,
Jockeys too.
Yeah.
Losing the weight,
Yes.
dropping
and
the
so
weight.
the fact that these non-professional athletes, and that's what I was telling my girls, we were watching the doc, Dre, is like, yes, we can watch this and say that a lot of this stuff is reprehensible,
crazy.
but don't forget there was also a show with Hugh Hefner kissing 9 18-year-olds in the mouth. That
Yes.
was on
And Flava
for
Flav
years.
giving-
Anna Nicole Smith,
Yes.
stumbling around on guy. Hey boys,
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it
That's
was
a good
diff-
Anna Nicole.
It was a different time, and we were a different society. So we have to kind of remember. We can judge the show, but remember, like, that's what was happening at the time.
True.
Your boss was like, Jeray, give me the biggest person you can get. I want the meanest coach. I want them this far from their face. And if it doesn't happen, Erica, I'm going to fire you and I'll get somebody. And that would be the discussion. And it wouldn't be the language I just used.
100%.
You know?
In the early 2000s, though, I thought it was even more interesting, though, that when they would get these competitors signed, sealed, delivered, they'd be all set. The producer would talk to them, and they're like, okay, I already started losing weight and started getting on my journey. And they said, please stop, gain more
Oh,
weight.
Jesus.
We want you to gain.
So there's more before,
more.
after.
Yes.
Wow.
And I think that's where it became even more disgusting for me. It's not for the competitor's sake at that point. And that's where I think it was a
Yeah.
product.
And they were the
Exactly.
product.
They were
Yeah,
the
yeah.
product. And I think that's where it became even more, for me, I just felt something ripping up inside of me where I felt so bad for these people.
Wasn't about their health.
At all.
And
It
they
was-
must have felt like the
and
biggest
there was
loser.
one woman, I believe she was she was the black woman who got sent home in the team, in her team.
Yeah.
And I remember she was talking and she said there was one moment where she was looking around and she's being, berated by the gentleman that's on there that had a heart attack. I forgot his name.
No, that guy.
But the
That
trainer.
guy, that fitness
he
trainer.
also did
How can I not think of his name?
I can't
um,
either.
Traders recently.
It was
but
Bob.
Bob.
Harper.
Yes,
Bob.
someone said Ben. Bob. Bob's berating her, and Bob
yes,
Harper's
Bob Harper.
berating her, and he even said too, he was like, "This was not my best day." But this woman says it was at that moment where like people are yelling at me, I'm being pushed to do all this weight. She falls off of something, and she realized, "Am I the loser?
Yeah, that's the loser there. Yeah.
I'm the loser
like
that they're watching."
that moment of clarity.
Yes. And that I've been on weight loss journeys. I think all of us have had a moment where
Don't
we've
look at
been,
me.
I think we've all had
Yeah.
a moment where we had a weight loss journey. But to have that to be put as the loser,
Yeah.
oh my God, that was hard.
When you probably already are internalizing
You
that
already
and
feel
fighting
that
it
way.
daily. Tori, what were your thoughts, girl?
I just think it's an old 90s way of people reacting to the body. I just think Jillian Michaels represents a way that we no longer allow people to talk to. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Just the yelling at you and screaming and in your face. And it's like, it's the opposite of what's going to work. You know what I mean?
See, I haven't seen the documentary, but I do have a mixed relationship feeling about just this type of coaching, so to speak, because I did fitness competitions for 5 years and I did them through this lens. Like, it wasn't like a coddling situation. Like, it was definitely, and I will say this, because I do think about those days fondly. I think it taught me a lot about setting a goal and then seeing the steps through in order to achieve that goal. But the goal was the product of me and my
Right.
body, and then allowing people to judge that. So for 8 months out of the year, I was constantly in a place of judgment. I was always welcoming the feedback of people judging. And also when we would do I was working out twice a day. I would do cardio twice a day. I would go to the gym. I would either work out with my trainer for an hour and a half, or I would do my workout with my trainer and do like a drill class or something. Constant yelling, like to the point where if like my nervous system, I think just regulated itself.
Right.
And I was like, I was a machine.
Right.
Like, and it was so laser focused. So I see that as like The Biggest Loser and stuff. Granted, I put myself in that situation. These women or these people put themselves in the situation
They
too.
do.
Yeah, but I will say this because what you're saying is spot on and very of the time. But if you pull back and get the aerial view, what you're explaining was the culture. If you look at like,
100.
remember the teens would mess up and they bring the sergeant out, you scream at them. Bobby Knight, the coach of the Indiana Hoosiers, would get in your face and scream at people.
Throw a
That was,
chair at
yeah,
you,
that
yeah.
was like a good coach would scream in your face and call you a fat pile of nothing.
Right.
Like everything, even our judge shows was like, "Are you stupid, ma'am?" Everything was being yelled at because I think we as a society were first internalizing what we saw growing up or dealt with growing up, and then almost in a moment of maturation as we got older, we were like, maybe that wasn't cool. Maybe we're not. And then you see those shows and that kind of behavior be called out and slowly excised from society. And I think it's really us processing this trauma, and it plays out in every form, whether it's personal workouts or on our television that morphs into entertainment. It's still somebody being like, "Get up, Dre, what are you, stupid?"
Right.
And now if somebody said that to you, you'd be like, "Excuse me?"
No,
You know, but like that was
It's very of its time.
It's very, and now
Yeah.
it doesn't seem like you're looking at TV from 50 years ago.
I don't know. I think tough love, like a lot of people still think it's a great way to teach people, a great way to
I would agree
motivate
with that.
people. And I actually think it probably is almost even making a comeback.
the tough love.
Yeah.
I would agree with that because I think it's been grossly overcorrected.
Like coddle.
I kind of
People
agree with
coddle.
you, Erica.
It's like, oh, baby,
people
oh,
can't do
baby.
simple things anymore. It's like
You need
somebody needs to say something.
Right.
100%. And I do agree with this. I feel like the world we live in, it can be a little overly sensitive for sure.
yes,
we
definitely.
need to, we got to put that leather on really quick. Okay.
Yeah.
But at the same
Big
time,
boy pants.
when we're you said what?
Big boy pants.
Big boy pants. Yes.
Leather makes me sweat though. No,
That's why you keep it on. No, I'm just kidding. But more importantly, when we're dissecting this show, right? We're dissecting The Biggest Loser in this documentary of their experience, the competitor's experience. Another thing that was really crazy to me is that on one of the seasons, they started the episode by having them run the Biggest Loser mile.
That was crazy.
Once again. This is not okay. And I wish we had someone who was like a fitness, who had like a
How humiliating for the-
kinesiology degree.
Right.
If
But how
you do not
humiliating.
move,
Yeah.
right, not only is it humiliating, it's dangerous for your health. And they were
Sure.
sacrificing these people's health
Right.
for the public, for our comedy or for, our viewing pleasure. But one woman who was on there, she actually found out she had a disorder. Her body completely shut down on her. She was leading the race. She wanted it so bad. And she was in a very difficult space of her life. She had a lot of at-home issues going on. So this was the moment for her to really change her life. And she wanted to prove to the world that she was about it. She could change her life. First of all, you're running a mile. Second of all, you're running a mile on the sand. Have you any of you ran on
Yeah.
the
I don't
sand
think I do
before?
that.
I
Terrible.
fake bait
Hell
watched and it was
no.
bad.
It's terrible.
It was bad.
It's very, very rough on your body. It sinks your body in
Right.
even more. Now take 400 pounds and apply that on top of that on your knees that are not used to working out. As someone who loves to work out, I could not imagine
Right.
whatsoever at all. But to have this woman who literally is wanting to change her life drop to where they had to carry her unconscious body across the finish line to get
Yeah.
her
They
there.
finished her unconscious?
They had to medevac her.
Yeah, but why
Yes.
did they have to go across the finish
Because
line?
she wanted to be a part of the Biggest
But
Loser,
she
and
was
if you
not-
didn't get past the finish line, you weren't going to be on the show.
But she's
That's
she's
the issue.
unconscious.
and she still got past it.
Oy
Now
vey.
this is where Jillian Michaels' little villain scenario starts to come out, because she was able to stay on the show, and although she wasn't approved to work out, this is actually the medical doctor, the medical staff's test. Essentially, he kind of was pissed because he didn't know they were going to start them running. Apparently, the medical expert was not always in the loop with producers.
See, that's so
I
dangerous.
think
on
that
what's
was on
going
purpose.
on.
That is so dangerous.
Exactly.
It's what do you call that?
Plausible deniability,
Yeah.
baby.
100%. So although he would put all of these aspects of these are the rules and the guidelines
He
we
wasn't
need to
aware.
follow, he wasn't always
Oh,
put in
man.
play with this.
That's so dangerous.
And this was one of the things he wasn't. So instead, he wanted to flip the script and give a big FU to the production team that he said, you're going to stay here. And although you're not cleared to work out, we're going to help you to start losing weight. So she was chiming in, and she would go up every week for a good couple of weeks. And I think the max she lost was 7 pounds versus, people who, I think this on the same season, there was a gentleman who was losing the double digits. He had like
Right.
the highest weight loss. But it was sad because Jillian Michaels and Bob Harper were sitting there and they would not clap for this woman. She would get the silent treatment.
Oh my God.
Could you imagine? You are trying your hardest
Oh my
as an
God.
obese person to change your life. You already got other stuff going on at home,
And-
and you're coming onto this reality show with
That
the
is
America's
terrible.
Best, and these two people who are supposed to root you to a new victory, to a new life cycle, are giving you the silent treatment as if you are 13 years old and they told your mama that you were out last night.
It's a form of
Oh my
abuse right
God.
there.
Exactly.
That is a form of emotional
That's where
abuse.
I think there's a bigger issue.
Yeah.
And that's where I think Jillian Michaels really needs to
Jeez
take a look in that
Louise.
mirror.
Oh, that's rough. But I mean, like you said, it was of its time, and you remember that woman sadly lost her life trying to hold out that water for hold your wee for we.
Oh, my
That
God.
woman on that radio contest.
Oh, yeah, I'm very familiar
yeah.
with
Did
this.
you remember this story where like this mom? It was
She
like
was
a contest
nurse.
to drink. Yeah, please.
Yeah,
Erica.
and I was doing radio in Chicago when that happened, but I ended up coming out here working for that same company at the time. There was a massive lawsuit. So basically they did they were drinking gallons of water, and then they were holding it so that they you have to hold a Wii to win a Wii.
Right.
And for a
Nintendo
Wii machine.
Right.
yeah, remember Nintendo?
Because at the
But there's-
time
oh my
there
God.
wasn't
Right.
I mean, they were
Okay.
one, they weren't easily accessible, and two, they were expensive. So
You can die from water.
Yeah.
over
well,
water.
and a nurse called while they were live on air and said there is this thing called water intoxication,
For
so
sure.
you need to be careful. And then later on that day, this
died?
woman, this
Oh
woman died of
my
water intoxication.
God. It's
Yeah.
a real thing.
That's insane.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're in a different era, but yeah, great analysis on The Biggest Loser.
Totally.
I can't wait to see. I don't think Jillian Michaels is going to pursue this lawsuit. I think we're in the day and age of like when you don't want Discovery to come out, but you got to say something. So you're
Right.
like, oh, Dre, I'm going to sue you for $90 billion, buddy, probably on Friday.
I think
or
she will continue
Saturday.
that lawsuit.
You know you ain't doing nothing after that, but you got to say it.
I think she has bigger fish to fry right now with, after her stint on CNN
Oh
recently.
my God.
Wait, can you
I'm
guys?
like, yo,
what happened?
we gotta go.
Oh my goodness.
Let's just say this. She tried to explain slavery to a black woman and
Defend
a black
it.
man.
On
and
CNN?
and defend it by saying
Yes,
only 2%
Abby Phillips, so.
of white people has, and these in real time they were like, are you kidding me? I mean, Jillian Michaels, you could see in her eyes she had made a huge
Do you think she
mistake.
knew?
It went very badly. It went very
horrible.
poorly.
But
for
do you
her.
think in real time she's like, shut
I
up, or
think
do you
she
think
mu-
she was like,
I think she was peddling.
She
I
was
think so,
trying
too.
Real hard to make her point.
But it kept stretching. I think she realized she was clawing her way out of this argument.
Yeah, you also just realize, oh, I have no knowledge. So yeah.
Literally.
Yeah,
Go
all
back
right.
to fitness, babes.
That's right.
No,
All right.
don't.
Or don't.
You guys got to run. So with that said, once again, Dre, fam, bam, in the building. Come back anytime. We love you, man.
Absolutely.
Erica Cobb, looking good. Super summertime over there. Tori Showman, loving the dress. I'm getting to compliment
Okay.
you. I'm sorry I'm not coming fast
I
enough.
so was used to you.
my
grabbing
Lanta.
me.
Right.
I'm sorry.
I love Tori, but you know who I love most? Night Owls.
Hoot hoot.
Love y'all.